Most of us go into the beginning of the year hoping that it will somehow be better than the previous one. More goals, more achievements, more memories, just more. Yet our New Year's resolutions list looks pretty much the same as the previous year. So what's missing? What's not working? My theory is alignment. What does this even mean? So too often we're writing down things in our goal list that we think we want, but do we? Are we actually excited about pursuing those things? What are we even working towards? Welcome back to Plan for Productivity. My name is Andrea in case you're new, and the goal of this video is to help you go from that vast realm of possibility and vague goals to a concrete list of goals that you are actually excited to pursue, that make you want to get up in the morning, and that hopefully you won't have forgotten about by March. So if that sounds like something that you need, grab a cup of coffee and let's get started. In case you haven't seen it, this is the second part to this whole New Year reset thing that I do every single year. In the previous part, we did a reset, kind of getting organized in different areas of our life, and we did a recap of the year. And this is part 3, the actual planning of the upcoming year. There's 4 parts that we're gonna go through. The first one is coming right off of the last step in our recap of the year, and it's journaling. So we did a kind of general journal. We did some questions that I mentioned in the previous video, also linked down below. And the idea with this journaling session is to kind of get a clear picture of the year. We're not at the detailed stage yet. The point is to just get a vague idea of where you're actually heading, what it is that you actually want out of the year, how do you want to feel, what do you want to do that is actually aligned with what you need and what you're actually craving for this next season of your life. We're gonna get started with thinking about what do you want to focus on for the next year in terms of areas of your life. What are these different things that are pulling you in some way, areas that you're actually excited to work on or pursue. You can think of specific ideas, projects that you have, character traits that you want to work on, life philosophies that you want to start applying or living by, and just your lifestyle in general. Then we're gonna move on to how do you want to feel at the end of the year. This part is super important because it's going to dictate exactly what it is that you're craving. For example, let me pull out the reflection that I did this year. Computer right next to you guys. I said that at the end of this year, I just want to feel content with the work that I've put in. I want to feel like my life is heading in the direction that I want in general. I want to feel grateful for all the blessings that I've had and also proud of myself. So what does this really tell me? Obviously, there's a lot more that I wrote there. You can get as specific as you want. But what does this tell me? This tells me that what I want this year is actually to put in the work for a foundation of what my future looks like. And that's pretty accurate to what my situation is. I have to take exams to get me ready for residency. We're gonna move in a few months, so I have to kind of figure that stuff out and decide what I want my life to look like when we move. So really, this does feel for me as a year of actually me putting in the work for a future that I'm hoping for. So at the end of the year, what I want to feel is like I've put in this work, and that means that my goals are very focused on diving into projects, diving into these different areas of my life and working on them. Versus, for example, I think last year what I wanted to feel was like I had closed some things that were pending. And that means that what I was focusing on was more about achieving certain things that were up in the air, or finally tackling projects that I had been postponing for a while. So you see how the way that you want to feel should start dictating more or less the things that you want to focus on. And this could also give you a lot of direction on what area of your life it is you might want to work on the most based on how you want to feel. And then you can also brain dump over here what specific goals or things, bucket list items or whatever you want to have achieved by the end of this year. Again, this is no judgment zone yet. You just want to dump everything that comes to your head. We're going to do some nitpicking afterwards. This you can do at the same time as you did the recap of the year. There's questions on the recap that I linked that will also help you see what it is that you're craving in terms of your lifestyle, your energy, what you're motivated to do right now, and little things like that. Now we're gonna go into the details of aligning that with what you value, what goals you might wanna achieve, and what your mission is at the moment. And I call this my compass. this folder of notes or lists that I have that basically lay the foundation for my life. These are the things that I value, the things that tell me areas I need to focus on, and kind of, you know, philosophies, practices, little things like that. You can see them right here. I have 6 lists. You don't have to go through all of them, and we're not going to do all of them today. We're just going to go with the ones that you need before reaching the actual yearly plan. So what you're going to want to do is, as you're taking this big idea of where you want your life to go and putting it into something a little more concrete, you want to go through all of these different checkpoints and filters, right? That kind of tell you, is this something that aligns with me or not? Is this something that I actually want to work on or not? Did I just see this on Pinterest or YouTube or whatever? Or is it something that I actually value and want to pursue? So these lists really help me get there and really help me clarify the actual yearly kind of goals list or resolutions, whatever you want to call it. So the first one is going to be the values, pillars, and dominions. You've probably heard me talk about this a little bit. Values, it's just things that I value in my life in some way. I don't always write this down, but typically I like to go through my values and just kind of see if they're part of my lifestyle, and if they're not, how can I make them a little bit more part of my lifestyle, just brain dump a little bit of that. Then the pillars are basically this. I actually think that you can just straight up copy paste, because these are what I think are the 7 areas of life or pillars that pretty much everybody could use to kind of separate their lives and pick like what goals you want to do, how you want to work on it, and ideally you would have a handle on each of these areas in some way. So health, pretty self-explanatory. Craft or career is, you know, it can be your focus, or for example for me, plan for productivity is part of that, even though it's not my main career. Then family and community. Mindset, again, self-explanatory. Wealth, faith, and I guess the only one that's a little weird that I call joy is basically your day-to-day lifestyle. I think that the way you live your life is something that should always be worked on and designed and lived on purpose. So I make it a point to think about this every year, almost quarterly, on how I'm actually implementing that. And then dominions, I've explained before, these are just the different areas of my life that I kind of have to keep in order or afloat. I don't use these for now. I use these more on like a weekly basis to check in on them. So pillars and values is what you want to focus on. What are the things that you value, and how are these big goals that you've written align with that? What do you need to add or subtract? And the same goes for your pillars. You can just do like go through each one and kind of start listing the goals again under those categories and see what you actually want to focus and what you don't. Then if you have a bucket list, you can just check that one really quickly. I'm not going to open that for you. And then the point is, we're going to land on this stepping stone, which is called the North Star. This is what you actually want to have written down on a piece of paper before you write down your yearly goals list or whatever. The North Star has 3 components. It's going to be your mission, vision, and what you want to celebrate at the end of the year. This is kind of similar to how businesses do things. So the mission is going to be like what you're actually working towards. And for me, the vision, I don't know if this is how you're supposed to do it, but I like to write how I picture my life in relatively close future. And that just reminds me like, oh yeah, I'm doing these things because that's how I want my life to look like. And it's a very clear picture, yet it's still very vague, and that's fine. It's just to give you an idea and a little reminder of what it is that you want out of your life in the near future. And then finally, the most important one is going to be, what would you want to be celebrating at the end of the year? And this one is pretty self-explanatory, but it should give you that clarity. After all this journaling and all of this thinking and writing things down and grouping them into categories and filtering, you know, through these things, you should know exactly what it is you want to be celebrating at the end of the year. For me, that became very clear, and it was, I want to celebrate a fruitful year. And again, if you can see how I wanted to feel at the end of the year, then I'll go through kind of the categories of my life and working on building a foundation. And then I realized like, oh, at the end of the year, I want it to be fruitful. I want to have done all of this work, right, in these different areas, and I want it to have some form of result, whether the result itself is just, I'm so proud that I worked for that. This is kind of personal, so I feel weird sharing it, but there you go. And finally, that's going to lead you to finally making your vision for the year, what you actually want to get done. So the way I structure mine is that I do pick kind of a word of the year this just helps me kind of remember what it is that I'm working towards. And if you've been hearing my entire ramble, you know that this kind of goes create. That's what I'm feeling for this year. And that works with the fact that I want to feel proud at the end of the year and that I want it to be a fruitful year, right? So again, I just copy pasted, what do you want to be celebrating at the end of the year? And then finally, these two are from part of like my previous year recap questions. And I just wrote down what it is that I want to do more of and what are the core practices that I want to solidify, just as reminders. After writing this kind of just vision for the year, I go on to the goals list. I'm not going to share that with you. They're a little bit personal, but the idea is you go through each pillar, or if you have your own life categories, here on the screen are some other ideas of how people like to divide their lives and make that actual concrete goals list. The important part is that when you're going from these journaling session vague idea to your final goals list is to filter. And how you're filtering is these things that I wrote down. Would I be excited to pursue this goal? Would I be excited to actually put in the work for this goal? For example, I want to have six-pack abs at the end of the year. I'm excited about six-pack, of course. Am I excited to put in the work that it takes to actually have six-pack? Absolutely not. Like, not even close. I want to be healthy, I want to work out. That's good enough for me. So apply that same filter to your goals. You have to be excited about the process itself. If the answer is no, ask yourself, why do I actually want this goal? Could be because the result is so important to you. So for example, you're at an unhealthy place in your life and you want to lose weight because you're unhealthy. Are you excited about the work that it takes? Probably not, but the result is so important. It's so life-changing that it's still in your goals list. Then we need to put in the work to make it more exciting to pursue that goal. You have to, because otherwise you're not going to achieve it. Ask yourself, how can I go about this in a way that makes it more fun, more exciting, more passionate for me? I feel like I've been rambling. There's a little caveat to this. You probably have like 20 things in that list. And I personally think that that's fine. I like to look at this list as my aspirations. These are the things that I'm excited about, that I hope to do this year. Now, is it realistic I'm gonna achieve all of them? No. Is it realistic to plan for all of them right now? No, absolutely not. And it's okay to change your mind along the way. Embrace the seasons of life. So what you're actually going to do is you're going to pick 3 things, 3 goals maximum. If you just pick one, that's more than enough, that you are actually really excited to start working on tomorrow. And we are going to tackle these this quarter. There's a lot that you can do in order to actually plan the quarter, but the gist is pretty simple, honestly, and it doesn't have to be that complicated. So you're going to get each goal individually, and you're going to ask yourself, what do I need to do either consistently or in terms of milestones in order to achieve this goal by the end of the quarter? And then you're gonna go crazy with defining how exactly it is you can do that. So I'll show you mine. For Q1, I did, I want to do a section of my, cover a portion of material. I want to upload 9 videos and I want to do the healthy habits I was talking about. So down here, I have the breakdown, and then I have a very clear definition of what the goal is, very clear. And then what the action plan is. So what are the things I need to do regularly in order to achieve this goal? And then the details of that. So what does that even mean? So if I'm saying, for example, that I need to study every day, what does that mean for 6 hours? When am I gonna study? How am I gonna study? Where am I gonna study? How am I gonna make the list for that to study? And I write these things in here. Oh, there's a spelling mistake right there. Same thing goes for each one. Okay, you can get as detailed as possible. That's even better. Now, if this is still very confusing, I do have a video I made a really long time ago on how to plan the quarter, and my book is all about breaking down your goals and all that stuff. It's especially part 3 of the book, so you can also find that there. Bottom line is you can go crazy kind of planning out the quarter, but the basic idea is take a goal, what it is that you need to do every week, every day, every month, whatever, to achieve it. How am I gonna do those things in the greatest detail possible? And then maybe create a tracker to keep track of that, that you're actually doing those things. And that should be it. It should be pretty simple for you to actually break this down. What you should end up with is a very clear idea of the practices that you're going to put into play for the next 90 days. And that is it, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope that you found some value in it. If you did, please consider subscribing, give this video a thumbs up, and I'm going to leave those videos that I talked about in part 1 of this little reset right here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.